20 bucks. On the line for 20 bucks. Hi guys, Jives. It's Jabor from Montreal. They're a great band. And I'm Maggie, Mrs. Calabash. If I can get my teeth in straight today, it'll be great. Welcome to my kitchen. Come on, come in. It's nice, warm and cozy. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well and enjoying this absolutely fantastic weather. To celebrate the good weather, we're going over to Africa, then hopping over to India. And so it's a cosmopolitan dish today. So this is one of my favourites. It's African sweet potato and chicken stew. And then I'm going to do beets in orange sauce to serve with it. And on the recipe sheet that I've given you, I've suggested serving with quinoa, with couscous. But I got a yen for quinoa. And I have done a sheet for you that shows you about quinoa and how to cook it. And quinoa is actually a seed. It's but classed as a grain. And look, it's a very, very, very fine grain. So when you rinse it to take away, if you don't rinse it, and this is why people aren't often that keen on quinoa, it has a soapy or a bitter taste. And very often, if I'm using this in a salad, because it can be eaten hot or cold, I'll just toast it in a little olive oil to bring out the more nutty flavour. But always rinse it in a fine sieve, because you can see it's very, very fine. And so let's go. And the nice thing about it is I almost forgot it's gluten-free. So if you have a gluten intolerance or an allergy, or just trying to cut down on gluten, this is the way to go. So come back with me to the, back over to the stove. Now, the ratio of water to grain is about 2 to 1. I like to salt the water just a little. You can, if you want a little bit more flavour to it, you can cook it in a broth or a stock. So you could use a chicken stock or a vegetable stock. And we're going to just put that in there like that. Give it a quick stir. And I just want this to come up to the boil. And we're going to cook this. It takes about a quarter of an hour, about 15 minutes, and till all the water is absorbed. So let's just bring this up to the boil. And whilst we're waiting for that, you see, I've had the water, I cheated. I've had the water boiling. So, excuse me. Once we're waiting for it to come up to the boil, I just want to heat a little oil in the pan for the chicken. It's almost there, and then I'm going to put its lid on and I'm going to transfer it over to the back. So we're going to be moving things around on the top of the stove. I want to get the oil hot. So you notice I'm putting my hand over it just so that I know when it's hot. Let's do some moving around. Bring that over there. Turn that on. That over there. And we'll keep an eye on that to make sure, A, it doesn't boil over, and B, it doesn't go dry. I'm very good at boiling over. I hate cooking pasta because I always boil it over. But now I've got a pasta pot that's got a little hole in the lid so the steam can come out. And that saves a lot on my stove. Now, for the chicken. What have we got here? I've got 2 chicken breasts, which I cut into bite-sized pieces. And I put a little salt and coriander over the chicken breast and massaged it in and left it overnight in the fridge. We've got onion, sliced onion, sweet potato, tomato, a little more coriander, a little cayenne, just a pinch of cayenne, and peanut butter. The South Africans cook a lot with peanut butter, and I'm using a sugar-free peanut butter today. But that is entirely your personal choice. You can use a crunchy peanut butter or a smooth peanut butter. Mine is slightly crunchy because I like to be able to taste the peanuts. Let's give this a quick turn over. I like to cut the chicken into bite-sized pieces, and then I don't like being faced with a big piece of meat at the moment, but this is entirely up to you. But it is a stew, and just remember, if you cut it, you've got exposed edges and the flavour's going to come out. And today I'm using canned tomatoes. There we are. Now that's just browned on the outside nicely. Just keep stirring. And at this stage I'm going to put in the onion, and I've sliced the onion today rather than chop it. Again, that is preference. I haven't got any garlic. They don't use it so much in the South African cooking, but if you want to put garlic in, by all means put a little garlic in. Just keep stirring this around. And grated ginger, fresh ginger. If you can't get fresh ginger, if you're out in the country and you can't get into the store and you've only got dried ginger, by all means use it. Now let me see, I've got a tablespoonful of fresh ginger, so that would be half a tablespoon of dried ginger. It won't taste quite the same, but it'll be good. And I know that it's not always accessible to be able to get into the store, because apart from the ginger and the sweet potatoes, you probably got sweet potatoes anyway on the vegetable rack. You have tomatoes in, and the spices and the peanut butter. Chicken will probably be a couple of pieces of chicken in the freezer. So the only thing that you wouldn't have would be the ginger. So as I say, just use some dried ginger. That is cooking very, very nicely. As you say, I keep stirring it around because I don't want it to catch and burn. Whoa, we lost a couple of pieces of chicken there. I'm going to wash my hands, that was hot. Ooh, that was warm. They're smelling beautifully. I'm going to add the tomatoes at this stage because I don't want the turn it up, add the tomatoes, and we've got sweet potato. Now I have cheated with the sweet potato. I've cooked it because time is of the essence when I'm cooking on the show, and I don't like serving the dish if the potato isn't cooked. It should only take about 20 to 25 minutes to cook the sweet potato. If you don't want to cook it fully, like I've done, parboil it. And I found the easiest way with sweet potato, I hate peeling sweet potatoes. I find them very hard. So I just cut an incision on the top, and cut just around the edge, just scour around the edge. I put them in the microwave for a little while and just parboil them in the microwave, and the skin just peels off. I found that's the easiest way to deal with sweet potato. At this stage, I'm going to add the spices, and then, because seeing as my potato is already cooked, that's a little coriander, because the coriander is divided between the two. A little cayenne, just to give it that bit of bump. We can add a little more peppers at the end if we don't like it. It's not strong enough. Can you hear the dogs, the hounds of the Baskervilles? They're up on the bed, they've got the windows open, they've got a television on, but they want to be down here because they know something's going on. So peanut butter. As you can see, it's almost smooth, that peanut butter. Not quite. Oh, look at that. So just stir that in. These are all heat proof, by the way. You may be freaking out seeing me use these appliances, these little spatulas, but they are all heat proof. Let's move that. And now we can add the potato, sweet potato. And we want to cover that really, really nicely. Ooh, look at that. And a little lime juice, which I'm going to add this now. Adds that little bit of zing to it. Now, turn this down, and I'm going to taste this to see if we need. How did that get on there? There we are. I'm going to taste this to see if it needs any more seasoning. It might need a little salt and pepper to it. So let's just have a taste. Look at that. Can you see it, Derek? That beautiful, rich, creamy sauce. This is always hot. Oh, it needs, yes. Don't forget, salt is a flavour enhancer. So salt, sugar, fat, flavour enhancers. I'm going to use a little of this, but I might just have to put some salt in on its own. This is the Mrs. Calabash Seasoning, 3 of salt to 1 of pepper. Just put a little of that in first. And then we're going to try it again, because it might need just a little salt on its own. Now, if you're on a salt-free diet, by all means use some herbs to season. I've got a friend who's got very bad kidney problems, can't eat any salt. So when they come for a meal, I just flavour with herbs and spices. Oh yes, that made all the difference. There's just a hint of vump in there, the hotness from the cayenne. I'm going to put the lid on that. I'm going to peep at the quinoa. Yes, that's cooking. Turn that up a little bit. Turn this one, and I want to keep that cooking on there at a fairly low temperature. So the back one I need to turn up, that one need to go down, and I can watch this through the lid. So that's the two dishes, the quinoa. I'm cheating today because Derek doesn't like rice. It doesn't like couscous. He's going to taste quinoa for the first time. He doesn't know it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to put the quinoa, serve it on the side. I think I've got a dish out. Yeah, a dish out to serve the quinoa on the side. I might have to cook some noodles for him to serve over. So he really is spoilt, you know, total spoilt brat. But I blame his mother. I mean, she must have gone round in circles. So now we're going to do the beets in orange sauce. We've got cornstarch. Where are we? A little brown sugar, orange juice, vinegar, and cooked beet. There's the cooked beet. I cooked these up the other day, yesterday, and they seem to take forever to cook. They would not drop. So whether they're a bit late in the season or what, I don't know. I'm just going to make sure that I want that to cook. So to begin with, now with the brown sugar, again, if you find, whoops, I had it out overnight, it's gone stiff. Again, if you find with brown sugar that you don't, when you go to the cupboard like I did the other day, I needed to make some cookies and they had brown sugar and white sugar and I only had a little brown sugar left. The trick is take some white sugar and add some molasses to it. Won't be quite the same, but it'll give the same sort of flavour. So don't panic if you find that you don't have any brown sugar. Cornstarch, a little orange juice, and I'm going to put the orange juice in there just to start to heat up. And oh, listen at those wretched dogs. And let's dissolve this in there. And I'm just going to add a little of that sauce, the orange juice, to this when it's got hot. It's easier. Actually, we're going to put it all in there. That's the vinegar. Let's clean up the mess. There we are. I don't know what's got into the dogs today. Come on, heat up. If you add a little liquid, if you add this to the hot liquid, it can clump. Whereas if it's the other way round, then it's better. So let's just mix that. Look, it's coming up to the boil. And I've got a wooden spoon to mix this with. So it's a little bit like sweet and sour with the vinegar and the sugar. I do have just a little extra corn flour here in case, because sometimes it doesn't always thicken up. Depends how clever you are at weighing up. Sometimes you can be a little on the light side, and then it doesn't thicken. And you have to add a little more. So I always have a little extra. Let's have a look at that. I'm dithering. I don't know. It's thickening. You always cook it out a little bit because the cornstarch, the grains have to burst. Now, I think, to me, that's just a little bit on the light side. I'm going to, very, very small amount. I'll rinse that out because it's got a little juice in there. Make some slurry. this is a preference, but I want it just that little bit thicker. Oh, that's better. Yes. Now, I must confess, I'm not a big beet fan, but I do like this. I think it's the two flavors together. I'm just going to check the seasoning on this one. Just a little. Let's gently put the beet in. Any beet juice that, there. Now again, we normally eat this hot, but it is something that can be eaten cold. I'm running out of space. There we are. So let's just stir this around. And we'll have another taste. Now it's got the beetroot in. But I love the colour of this. Come on, up. Let's just taste this. That needs turning down a little. It's almost there. Oh yes, but it needs a little salt on its own. Not much. Just a little. Now, I always use sea salt, but I do have in the cupboard, which I meant to put into a container, I've got some nice pink salt. So that's got all the minerals in. And for something like this, it's very good to use. Let's just taste that. You know what? It needs a little more. I don't want to over salt because I don't want to take away. Oh, that's pepper. These are actually oil and vinegar. They're meant to be oil and vinegar to put on the table to make dressings, but I keep them as my salt and pepper. There we are. And you can see how, look, they're really old and I've had them for years and years and years. There we are. That's heating through. Let's have a look at the quinoa. Yeah. Just about there. I'm going to move this over there. The handles get very hot. These don't. I'm just going to give this, it needs, it's there, almost there. Can you see? Can you see? It's almost there, but it's still got a little moisture in. So we just need to get rid of that moisture. So on a low light, just take and I will check to see if it's cooked, because sometimes it looks cooked and it's not gone quite through. But quinoa, you could eat quinoa for breakfast as a cereal, put it in soups. It's got a lovely nutty flavour to it. I'm very fond of quinoa. In France, we use quinoa and couscous as a base for the salads all summer. There's either quinoa or couscous, and we make a nice salad out of it and add vegetables to it, anything that goes, and make a dressing. Sometimes it's just an oil and vinegar dressing. Sometimes you want to spice it up a little bit. but always, always, always couscous and quinoa. So there's a lot of Arab influence on the French cooking these days, and it's lovely because there's a mixture. And I used to work, I had a market stall in the Arab section of Laval Market, and they were selling vegetables that day, but in Angier, where I lived, had the stall, and he was built like mate. He was huge and he was strong. And when I first went, we had an agent, and he took me onto the market, and he said, "Ah, Maggie!" And he waltzed me round and round and round, and my agent looked at me and he said, "You know him?" I said, "Oh, yes." So he used to take me round, and we used to try all the different oysters and the seafood, and oh, it was great. I used to leave my husband work in the market stall, and I used to go around having a great time. So these are cooked. Again, I've got to use this, and what I'm going to do is hopefully put the beetroot on one side so the colours go together. But let's see how good I am at it. I just want to... Can you see me, Derek?
Yes.
If I move that. Look at that beautiful colour. So we don't want to leave any in the pan. Just scrape all out and all the juice out. Get rid of that. And now, this is the tricky part. How do I ladle this out without making a mess? This ladle, go on, up there, disappear. There we are. So look at the colours together. And that is our South African stew with quinoa. And I will see you again next week. And please stay safe, stay well. Go on to Mrs. Calabash Cooks on Facebook and like, and the recipes will be up there. So I'm going to enjoy this, and we are going to enjoy this, and we will see you again next